We've been waiting for that. Not really. Not really. Not really. Thank you for being here. I'd like to welcome those here in attendance to Payson City Council meeting for October 19th, 2020. It is almost 6:05. I will open this meeting with prayer. Then after I've asked Council Grossgard, yes, it's not just Kirk, to lead us in the pledge. So, our Father in heaven, as we come before thee this time, we are so very thankful for thy involvement in our lives, for the blessings that thou hast given us, some of which we are totally unaware of. We're thankful for the freedom that we enjoy, for the city that we live in, as well as in the state that we live in. We're thankful for the citizens of this city and would ask thee to help them become more involved in city government and be part of the process to make our future a bright one. Thankful for the members of this council and for the time that they dedicate to the future of this city. Help us to make good decisions as we consider the options that we have before us. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Would all rise and repeat with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll proceed with the council meeting. Go to B, consent agenda. Number one, approval of the October 5th, 2022 City Council minutes. Number two, resolution, police surplus property. Number three, resolution amendments to the Payson personnel policy, equal employment opportunity. Unless there's any discussion on these items, I will accept a motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. A roll call vote starting with Council Hyatt.
Yes.
Council Prosgaard.
Yes.
Council Carter.
Yes.
Council
Beecher.
Beecher.
Yes.
And Council Christensen.
Yes.
Okay, it carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to petitions. And we're very happy to make a recognition this evening. In full disclosure, I am a relative of Brent Olson through marriage. My wife is a cousin. Is that right? I think that's what it is. So I would like to read this, and then I would have his wife and daughter and granddaughter, a granddaughter come up here. If you would come on up, Don Olson, come on up if you would. Cynthia and Kimber. If you just stand right there at that podium, and I'll read this and then come around to you. Okay. Unfortunately, Brent passed away from cancer in 2009. And I've already introduced you, Don, his wife, Cynthia, his daughter, and granddaughter, Kimber. I'll read this for those here in attendance. Brent Olson, class of 1964, football, basketball, track, and field. Brent Olson was an outstanding student and athlete at Payson High School. He exemplified what it means to be a multi-sport athlete and excelled at all of them, football, basketball, and track and field. Brent also participated and excelled in many other areas of Payson High School life, band, student government, and academics. His senior year, 1963 to 1964, he served as the student body president and graduated with high honors in 1964. Where Brent shined brightest as an athlete was in football. He played for the Payson High School under the legendary coach Jim Durant. In 1962 and 63, Brent was named All-Region to the All-Region team, and in 1963 to the All-State team. Most notably in 1963, his senior season, Brent was named as All-American. That year, he also served as the football's team defensive captain. After graduating from Payson High School, he attended Brigham Young University on a full tuition scholarship for football and leadership. In 1965, Brent helped BYU football win the Western Athletic Conference, which is known as the WAC championship, BYU's first conference championship in their history. He was also named to the academic all-conference team in the WAC. Some of his accomplishments, again, I've mentioned some of them. Payson High School student body president, 63 to 64. Bigler Award for Scholastic Leadership, 1964. Football team defensive captain, 1963. All-Region Football, 1962 and 63. All-State Football, 1963. All-American Football, 1963. All-Region Honorable Mention Basketball in 1964. He received a full tuition football tuition to Brigham Young University. A member of the National Scholastic Honorary Fraternity, played football for BYU for 4 years. Member of the BYU Football Western Athletic Conference Championship in 65. He was also a wildlife officer and was awarded Outstanding Wildlife Officer of the Year. And the state of Utah, International and in the state of Utah in 1989. He was awarded the Silver Beaver by the Boy Scouts of America. Ladies and gentlemen, Brent Olson, please honor him please applaud before him. I would like to present this to you as a token of our appreciation of Brandon's accomplishments that we had here at Payson. Thank you very much. Come on, if you would like to get a picture. I want to say, Council, will you come on? I will. This is Brandon that lived on 3rd North and 550 West, 3rd East. Yeah, it would be 4th South. Yep. 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 Good stop. Come stand right in the middle. All right, then. Step up. Hang on. We're just getting oriented. There we are. Perfect. I can see everybody. Ready? 2. Okay. Wait, one more.
Well, we have Karen and Margaret and cousins.
Yeah.
I really did. What you want us to? We love all of those cousins and all the relatives. So we love you. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife snuck in. I did see her. Margaret, right, my wife.
I want to thank you.
You bet, please.
This is such an honor. And I started going back and checking when I graduated 58 years ago. And we certainly appreciate the recognition that you've given him. It's a great man.
And it is.
And
Absolutely.
we look up to
Big
him.
shoulders.
And he was so handsome. And she was one of his classmates.
Well, I was behind you 2 years,
Yeah.
but I knew Brent really well.
Brent liked younger women.
Oh,
She younger. Did I get Robert?
Did you know Brent?
You bet.
Oh, he even talked to little kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was a little one.
Bye-bye.
I was right there with
They
you.
remember me on those. Okay.
Okay, drive safe back to Fountain Green.
Bye-bye.
They're out there.
Bye.
Get started.
I don't see Michelle Lyons here right now, but so we'll tread water a little bit for her. We'd like to open a public forum. Anyone can speak on an item that's not on the agenda. Please take 3 minutes or less. And so we'll go ahead and open a public forum. Anybody on?
We'll make a motion. Do we know?
Okay, not seeing anyone here or online, we'll go ahead and close the public forum and move to number 4, staff reports. Anybody from staff would like to address us? Boy, this is going to be a short meeting.
I will.
Okay.
I know you've seen the text, but we have an appointment to take your picture at 7:30. So hopefully the meeting's over by then. We are going to go to Memorial Park, the bandstand that was repainted and done. We'll go there. If it's too dark, I know we've got lights there, but if the lighting's not good, we'll go to Memory Lane's studio downtown. So he'll be ready for us, and thanks for accommodating. And Brian Hewlett, we're going to try to get him in with the old council and then kick him out and put Kirk in so we can have both councils. But no, it's good. So thanks. A lot of stuff going on in Payson. There's lots of developments that Jill's going to go through some of them. But anyway, we appreciate the support the council gives us in all aspects of the city government. So thanks.
Okay, not seeing any more staff that would like to address us. I'll turn to council report. Start with Council Christensen.
That's me.
I don't think I
That's
have
you.
anything.
Nothing? Okay.
No, I just, thanks to the staff. I think you're doing a great job moving forward.
Council Beecher.
Not anything from me either. Just everybody's doing great.
Good. Council Carter.
Nothing for me. I do have something.
Okay.
Sorry. I get asked all the time about what the building is on going in on 8th South. Those buildings. And of course, now one is full. We know what that is. Anyway, people are excited, I think, to see some businesses coming. Now we just need restaurant.
That's right. We're
Were you
working at
gonna
it.
tell them that one was Texas Roadhouse?
No, I didn't tell them that.
Kind of small for Texas Roadhouse.
Your opportunity to shine. Linda.
No, it was a fixed roadhouse. Took more than 6 days to build.
I went to Texas Roadhouse last night. It's
It's good.
very good.
I've been there. It's too bad it's not here.
Yep. Yeah, we tried.
Yeah.
Also, I might add the one building that is under construction, it's Popeyes. And
Popeyes,
it looks it will be,
Be different
yeah, it's
looking
different looking
than
than
the
the one in
normal
Spanish.
Popeyes. Yeah.
So
And
excited
We'll
about
be
that.
ready to open about the 4th of November.
That's the last, well, and I went over there a couple days ago and talked to them, and they're thinking more like December, but we'll see. We'll see.
Chicken fetish,
That-
can't wait.
Okay. Council Prosgaard.
First of all, I'd like to thank Jill for sending out that update on all of the projects. Very lengthy, very readable. And then on the events that are coming up involving the growth and what have you. And the last one I'd like to say is I believe there's 2 birthdays today within the city staff. Is it Steve and Scott's birthday today?
It's yesterday.
Well, I'm behind today. I've been where there's no service.
Sorry.
So it popped up on my phone and go on record wishing them a happy birthday. Thanks for all they do. Steve is about the most unsung behind the scenes guy we've got around here, and I'm just tickled that he works for us, not somebody else.
Fine.
Thank you.
Council Hyatt.
Wow.
Wow, he's
Call
right.
up memory lane, tell them we're ready.
Okay.
Got a long-winded Jill down here on the bottom.
Well, she won't be very long-winded if we won't be, so. Okay, we'll move to action items. Resolution, real estate purchase contract with Orchards Business Park LLC for property approximately 700 west and 600 north. Dave?
Mayor Council, this is one that we talked about. It's kind of the flag lot in that development. Council gave me some direction. I gave them that offer. They thought about it a day or two and sent this real estate purchase contract. So It's what we asked for. If the council's good with it, just need a motion to approve the real estate purchase contract, and we'll move to get it closed.
Thank you for negotiating that, making it more a little palatable. So I'd make a motion that we approve the purchase price of $50,000 for the surplus land. Kim, how do you want me to say it? How about just that we authorize the mayor or Dave to sign the real estate purchase contract for land dated October 13th, 2022 in the Orchard Business Park LLC.
Sounds like it works. Okay, we have a second.
I'll get one of those.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Council Christensen,
Yes.
Council Beecher,
Yes.
Council Carter,
Yes.
Council Proscard.
Yes.
Council Hyatt. Okay, unanimously. Thank you.
We haven't earmarked that money for anything yet, have we? Dave?
Just the manager slash fund.
The heck with city managers have the mayor's slush fund.
The downtown Main Street.
I love the idea of the dog park.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
And up the, where.
Okay,
We have got to do it.
we got
where
it. We
were
got to do it.
at Originally with.
Well, I've got some suggestions and
Okay.
when it's appropriate. I'll- yeah. Okay, moving on. And this is a work session, update on planning projects. Jill?
And this could be as short or as long as you would like it to be. So, 7:15 is it, so.
You've got an hour.
No, and we don't need to take that long, but we do want to take this opportunity. We did see that it was a light agenda,
Yes.
and the planning staff has for a while wanted to give you a little update on some of the other projects that we're working on. As Councilman Proscard mentioned, we've been starting giving you this wrap sheet every month of what's happening with the land use applications. But there's still a lot of other planning projects that we're working on that are not land use application related. And so in addition to all those that you see that, we have, private development happening, these are other projects that are more regional or long range or just miscellaneous projects that the council has given us direction to start on. So those are the ones that we want to go over tonight. I do have a long list, but I'm only going to spotlight about 5 of those tonight. So that is my first screen. This is the overall list of some of those projects that we have in the queue that we're working on with planning staff. So we have projects that are with specific area plans. We have regional transportation projects. So the specific plans is you got the Spring Creek plan in the West Mountain area that is under review. We've got the South Meadows, some amendments that staff will be proposing in that area. Spring Lake Council has given us direction to work on the Spring Lake plan. That will probably happen start early next year. The regional transportation projects, you've got the 2050 regional transportation plan with MAG. You've got the 5-year service plan with UTA. That was one of the emails that I sent. The station area plan for Front Runner, Payson Canyon Trail, Saline Canal Connector Trail. You've got the downtown Payson Vision Plan and Reconstruction Project. We're going to talk about that a little bit more tonight. Annexation policy plan amendments. We've got several grant opportunities we're looking into to get some assistance to help us with tourism and then also with some technical assistance for planning. Land use ordinances, we're looking at some interim changes, but we're also looking at a review and a complete update to our code in order to help us implement the general plan. We've also got a gateway transition zone that we're looking at with a BYU student team. Corridor preservation, we're still working on. General plan amendments, there'll be affordable income housing changes and transportation master plan changes. We're also working with UDOT on completing a study to have a pedestrian crossing over Interstate 15 at 800 South. We're also working with the Nebo Loop, projects along the Nebo Loop, one of those including working with the Forest Service to address some of our concerns that we have with their fee proposal. And then you have the BLM motocross track and trails, and then the 4B master plan that we're working on. So the projects that we're going to spotlight tonight, because we would be here all night if we went over all of those. So with that in mind, though, we're going to touch on these ones tonight. We want to have a dialogue with you, get you any information that you feel like you need. However, any of those other projects on that previous list, if you feel like we need to provide you with additional information or do another update to provide you some more in-depth information on any of these projects, we would be happy to do so. So tonight, we're going to look at the regional transportation projects, and mainly because there are some deadlines that are associated with these. So you've got the update to the 2050 regional transportation plan. That is something that we work with MAG on. MAG, of course, does our regional land use and transportation planning, but they get the communities and the county very involved in that. UTA is also doing a 5-year service plan. We have focused a lot on transit lately with Payson, with the South Valley transit study, identifying transit modes for Payson. And so that's been very much on our minds. But this is another component of that is increasing ridership, because front runner, BRT, those other nodes or modes of transportation or transit cannot occur unless the ridership is there. So coming to the service plan, we need to make sure that we're interacting with our residents and making sure that they know what services are available and they're utilizing those systems. Station area plan we'll discuss a little bit, Salem Canal Connector Trail. So those are all more of a regional or, we're working with other communities and agencies on. And then, as I mentioned, the downtown Payson Vision Plan and the reconstruction project. And then I do want to just touch briefly on some of those other projects that I mentioned will be coming to you in November and December. So I have one last slide just to say this is what to expect in November and December. So the regional transportation projects, the first one is the RTP, so the regional transportation plan. Some of you may have participated in some of the small group transportation meetings that they had. One was over in Spanish Fork. Some of us attended that one in Spanish Fork, but this is where they're looking at, what are those capital intensive roadway projects? What are the active transportation, bicycles and pedestrians and the transit improvements? In order for Payson City or any of the cities in the MAG region to receive transportation funding, our plans, those regional projects have to be on the RTP. So the regional transportation is really important for us to receive transportation funding in the future. So right now they are drafting the plan, but they want input now. And so if I haven't already sent you that email, I will be sending you that, but they do have a link of how you can go into their new mapping and comment tool. And you can put comments in there of what transportation projects we would like to see on the RTP. So staff will also be doing that internally. We'll be meeting as staff to go over the projects to make sure that, any projects that we have identified over the last couple of years, that we provide comment to MAG so they become part of the plan that will be presented in the spring and be approved next summer. So it's sort of that, make sure that we take care of it now because we're projecting so many years out of certain transportation projects in our community. One, for example, is, like the 800 South corridor study that was done. We need to make sure that, 800 South is included on the plan or the current alignment. And so we can have the opportunity of funding in the future. And then the Utah Transit Authority, they're putting together a 5-year service plan. This is a new plan. They haven't put together a 5-year plan in the future or in the past. So they're really excited about putting this together and getting some feedback from the public. So one of the emails that I had sent to you is to take the transit needs survey. And so for the public that is here and for staff and for those that are watching the meeting, you can go to www.rideuta.com/FYSP for 5-year service plan. And it takes 5 minutes. It's maybe 7 questions. I mean, it does not take much time to go in there and start letting them know whether or not you're utilizing transit or what you would need in order for you to incorporate transit into your daily life. So spread the word, let your friends, family, neighbors, residents, everyone know that they can go and do the short survey. And then there's also other ways to stay engaged in the project. And those are all listed on the website. So there is that project website that talks about, as you can see here to the right, it talks about the different steps in order for them to adopt this plan. But again, it goes back to that comment I made before. Transit is really, for the future of Payson, is very important. And even though we might be thinking, oh, Front Runner will be here one day, or yeah, it might be here when UVU or MTech or all these other things happen in our community, or when we become 60,000. Well, we have to take those steps today in order to incorporate transit into our community. We have a bus system that's in our community now. We need to start engaging with those that are utilizing the bus. How are we, and we need to also promote and support and encourage residents in order to utilize the bus system, which will turn into other modes of transportation. So anyway, so that's something we're working on there on a regional basis. The Payson Station area plan. So this is the area that will be around the future Front Runner station. And so there's been a lot of steps that have taken place in order for us to get to the station area plan. As I mentioned, we have the South Valley Transit Study that was completed and published the end of last year, I believe it was. That study was completed to evaluate the options for high capacity transit from Provo to Santaquin. That study actually recommended or determined that with the future growth of South Valley, that the communities of Springville, Spanish Fork, and Payson can support a Front Runner station. So projecting with growth, with potential ridership, that we could support Front Runner. So we've identified generally where those locations will be. There will be an express bus that will continue to Santaquin. So the area that we're looking at here is, and so this is just, the Interstate 15 EIS overlay on the Bamberger Ranch property. So the area that we'll be looking at for the station area plan is about a half-mile radius from this area here. We're still refining with the consultant team, exactly what the boundaries of that plan area will be. But as I mentioned, just typically it's a half-mile. However, recognizing the makeup of the city, where the existing population is, which is on the east side of the freeway, and we're putting the station on the west side, we also have to look a little bit broader. So I think the concentration of the plan will be that half-mile radius around that interchange. However, we are going to have to look a little bit more broader of how are we incorporating active transportation, which is your trails, your pedestrian ways, your bike lanes, in order to make it easy for these new existing Payson and new developments to get to this location. And so that boundary, I guess, will be a little bit nebulous and may change a little bit here and there. But we are looking at more of a transit oriented community. It will, by state law, your station area plan has to address housing availability and affordability. And then access to services, your employment centers, in our case, educational facilities. I mean, we're going to have UVU in the area, but we're also going to have MTech on the south end of the community. So how are we going to get those students to and from the train station if they need to get to the MTech campus or vice versa? And then also transportation choices and connections. It's not just about the train. Are the buses coming there? Are the bike lanes? Are the trails? Is that whole complete transportation network designed in a way to support this facility and to make it successful? Because that's the only way that it's going to be built, is if we can match all of those up. So next steps on this particular project is we're finalizing the scope of work. We've had a project kickoff at a staff level just to get some data to the consultant team and to UTA. They're indicating it'll take about 9 months to 1 year to complete this study, but we're hoping that we will be in full swing in November. But we've already provided some information to the consultant team that they're looking at. But there's a lot of possibilities here. Here on the bottom of the screen, this is the current land use plan that was put together for the Bamberger Ranch. That was probably adopted in 2013, I think. So it's been about a decade. And we're looking at it with now that the freeway interchange will be redesigned. Now that we have the answer that Front Runner will be coming to Payson, we see an opportunity with the station area plan to make some changes to this land use plan. We have talked to the majority owner of that area which is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, about making some amendments to this. They are definitely wanting to be at the table and be part of those conversations, but it seems very promising and something that could definitely benefit the community. Salem Canal Connector Trail. So I think we've mentioned this before, but I did want to give a little bit of an update what's happening on here. But this is a regional trail system that will connect the communities in South Utah County. And so those specific communities being Payson, Salem, and Spanish Fork, but it is a regional trail system. It will generally connect from the Highline Canal area. We're still trying to refine exactly where those connections will be. And then it will extend through Salem and then connect to the Spanish Fork River Trail. So there's challenges and opportunities with every project. Challenges, I'm going to go over the challenges first because I want to end on a positive note. But challenges is property acquisition. Much of this area will be along the Salem Canal, which there's already easements there for water facilities, but there is some portions of the trail that is anticipated to go on private property. So a lot of this is going to depend on working with those private property owners and seeing if we can come to some sort of agreement or have some sort of collaborative response in order to get those connections. There's some existing development patterns that will limit us from doing the typical trail cross section. Most of that is through, there's some through Salem, but some of the area through Payson is going to be limited on what we can do with the trail, is because there's existing homes, there's existing fences, there's existing sidewalks. So we're having to sort of navigate around some of those obstacles, but still being very positive and trying to find some solutions. There's also some topography. I mean, when you start looking at, the topography of Payson and Salem and getting over, across the river and through the woods to Spanish Fork, there's some topography and challenges that are having to work there. And then there's also rising construction costs. And that's with every project. But the opportunities, it's nearly 7 miles of connected trail. And so we're going to be going from Payson to the Spanish Fork River Trail, which then connects to a much larger trail system there as well. And we're hoping with the Payson one that it will connect to the future Highline Trail that will be there at some point in the future. Hopefully we'll have some arrangements with the Bureau of Reclamation and the Highline in order to have that connection. But 7 miles, it's pretty exciting to think that our residents, if they want to go for a bike ride, if they want to go for a run or a jog or a walk, that they could, go 7 miles to Spanish Fork and not get in a vehicle, if they choose to do so. Safe street crossings and signage. We're also looking at that. There are some areas that there will be surface crossings. Wherever there was an opportunity to do a subgrade crossing, that has been explored. But there are just some areas that, due to whether it is groundwater or it's utilities, whatever it may be, sometimes we just are going to have a surface crossing. So we're trying to find ways that we can make those as safe as possible, and having, crossing beacons and different things like that in order to, warn vehicles of the pedestrian usage in the area. There will also be some trailheads that will be incorporated along this trail system. And the best thing is that funding has been allocated for this project up to a certain dollar amount. So we're trying to keep that in the forefront of our minds as we're doing this planning. The bulk of this trail system is in Salem. So the bulk of this money will go to Salem, to the trail through Salem. But Payson is very active in this. Very active in this planning process. Travis and I have been meeting with them to talk about Payson's interests. But again, we do have some challenges with securing easements and property in order to have that. If that cannot be resolved before the project starts and the money is allocated, then ours might become a future phase that we would have to find funding for in the future. So we're really motivated to still find a way for us to be part of that funding. But we do need to talk to some property owners. And so we'll be working on that. So this is the trail system. So we're generally saying, hear about the Highline Canals, where you start with Payson, you'll go down Salem Canal all the way through Salem Canal Road in Salem. And then they are working with the developer of the BYU farm property and incorporating the trail through that development there. And then it'll continue and cross over Spanish Fork River and connect into their existing trail system. So when you look at it from a broader perspective like that, I mean, it's a pretty important project for these communities, and not just for Payson, Salem, and Spanish Fork, but for Elk Ridge and Woodland Hills and the unincorporated area that's in between, in order for them to have the ability to utilize that recreation and that transportation system. Yes.
Right there, and it stops at the bottom of essentially the foot of P Mountain, right? And then on the other side, we have the one that goes up to Forebay that we have put in. And why are we missing there? Is that something that come from our direction the other way, or did that make sense?
Well, I think the missing link there is the Highline Trail.
Highline Canal. Trail.
And we don't have approvals to utilize that corridor for any type of recreational use.
I know, but if we put it in our plan for, yeah, we need this so that when they develop that area for building
So we have it
can
on
be
our trail
incorporated.
plan.
Okay,
That's a
thank you.
great comment. I mean, we do have it on our trail plan, and anytime we can find a way to make these connections, we are.
Okay,
But yes, it is on our trail plan, and that was one of the approaches that we took when we applied for the funding for the Payson Canyon Trail. Was you're gonna have the Payson Canyon Trail that connects to the Highland Trail, that connects to the Salem Connector, which connects to Spanish Fork. So we were showing it
Right.
regional.
well, which it
And
would
so-
actually connect to our trail system that starts there in Hollow Park
Hollow
and
Park,
goes
yeah.
west,
Yep,
w-
absolutely.
which it's getting farther and farther every day, right? With the Hancock Trail.
Yes, absolutely. That was a great connection. But sometimes those trails take a long time, but if
They do,
you're persistent. and
But if you
find
draw them
out-
on a map
and
and
you
somebody
find
builds,
you
then
find opportunities and they happen. And so at the Hancock Trail was a huge success for the city. So downtown Payson Vision Plan and Reconstruction Project. So I know
Jill,
that we've had
Can
some.
I just interject something before we
Yes,
go to that?
yes.
Going back to the the highway and freeways, high priority stuff that you talked about with MAG.
Mhm.
Could I just say just a few things about the high priority meeting that I went to and
Absolutely, Mayor. And I know this is a work session. I haven't been giving you much time to respond. So
Okay.
absolutely slow me down and go back. and-
no, I just was looking for a place I could jump in, but I was able to attend a high priority corridor meeting over in Santaquin with the commission, the traffic commission. It was really a good meeting. And one of the things that they stressed was we need to take, and they talked about it with the county, we need to take advantage of the transportation monies that we can use through some taxes. And then if we are actively doing that, then they look more favorably on funding some of the projects we've got here. Commissioner Gardner talked about that, and there was a
No, that's great, Mayor, because I think it's good to continue to share the successes too. That, I mean, because it's just all been building on each other. You know, we can focus on one study or like the environmental, but it's nice to go back and say, we've prepared for this point by doing this, this, and this. The logical next step is this. We need your assistance. So thank you for going to that and sharing our needs. You know, it's great for them to be in South Utah County and to see the needs of these communities. So No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And if anybody has any questions on any of the other items, I'm happy to go back to, to another screen or to another slide. This one, I'm just going to go through briefly on some of the plans that you've already seen, but I'm just going to provide just briefly some of the progress that we've made on this project here. We meet weekly with the consultant team to talk about their progress, and if they have questions for us, then we have a subsequent meeting internally with staff to try to gather that information to give them some additional direction. So this is happening every week. We're getting new information. So there's a lot of work that goes into this, and a lot of it happening with the consultant team as well as staff. So some of the project highlights, just I think we all understand with Main Street, there's a lot of benefits to this. A lot of cost, but there's a lot of benefits. I mean, it's a collaborative project among the elected officials, staff, the design team, property owners, and businesses. And so there's been a lot of discussion that's been held with business owners and property owners in order, because it has to be collaborative. There's going to be utility and infrastructure improvements. I think that's where this all started, was trying to identify funding in order to upgrade the infrastructure. And then from that, we saw an opportunity to move forward with some streetscape and design and parking and different things. It's a phase project, and then that is to support the budget, business operations, different activities. So, from the get-go, we've always looked at it as a phase project. And then there's an emphasis to enhance the experience in downtown. It is a destination. And we want it to continue to be a destination for visitors, for residents, for filming, whatever else may be. But, so we definitely want to put our best foot forward with that while still maintaining what's not seen. That's been the challenge with infrastructure, is it's not seen, and you don't hear much about it until, you can't turn on your faucet or there's sewer issues or something like that. So, it's good to be a little bit more proactive on this one. So here's the downtown concept that you've probably seen before of basically the 4-block area. We've talked to them about connecting in the 6 blocks, so getting down to Memorial Park and doing some improvements, to make that connection there. But most of the concept plans that we've shared with you or that we have available is just for the 4-block area of what we would consider historic downtown. But it shows, where waterways would be, where pedestrian, where parking is, where public parking is versus private parking lots. And so that's been some of the conversations talking with some of those downtown owners. Again, phasing, we've looked at having phase 1 being the Main Street corridor, maybe some sub phases of being some parking lot areas. As we start to refine some costs and get some of the design done, we might have to change this phasing or alter the phasing a little bit in order to make it work. But again, there is a phasing plan that's anticipated, and we want to get as much of it done as possible. You got your Main Street cross sections. We're still keeping the one-way street in downtown. It is not a pedestrian mall. I know that, with some of the surveys that we did, some people were thinking that, we were closing it off to traffic. We're not. We're changing the parking from angled parking to parallel parking. We're incorporating a water feature. So we still want to have a really good, walkway and area for pedestrians while still having gathering areas, having landscaping, having water features, and still providing, front door parking and still vehicular access through the area. Utah Avenue, it's a little different just because the width of, or the current improvements alter the cross section of Utah Avenue. If you go east of Main Street, is a little bit wider. If you go west of Main Street, it really narrows. And so that will be one benefit with this project also, is we're going to have more of a uniform cross section through those areas to help, move the traffic and provide parking spaces while still incorporating the landscaping, which is so important to downtown areas. Also looking at where we can incorporate design, and some of that is just on surface materials. We've had some conversations before about colored concrete and pavers and how we can incorporate that in to not only the pedestrian ways, but also focal points along Main Street. And so up here in your top left, that's one of them, of just showing, how we can incorporate some of the design into the street to have that enhancement while still maintaining the vehicular area. incorporating trees. There's been a lot of conversation about trees, see with the city council lately about the trees downtown and, making sure that we're keeping trees, but we want healthy trees and we don't want trees that are buckling sidewalks, because then that causes, problems with pedestrian usage. And so again, just a lot of conversation on what are the types of trees and shrubs and how can we incorporate water-wise planting in that area. So we still have the green and we still have the color, but we're not utilizing as much water. Also looking at the breezeway that's between the two city-owned buildings. So you've got the library here on the south side here, but where the city's purchased this and is looking at doing more of the culinary arts and having some opportunities for, some food hall down there, is how can we open that up? How can we have it more engaged with this gathering area? Instead of it just being a walk through to parking, how can it be a gathering spot? Can we have some outdoor dining? Can we have some lighting? Can we have some hanging baskets? Just to make it a very attractive and inviting location, because yeah, it's really convenient to get from the front door of a business back to the back parking lot, but we want to maximize the use of that space as well. So this is just some ideas that the architect put together of, enhancements we could have in that area. The water feature, there's been a lot of discussion on the water feature. Should we have the water feature? Shouldn't we have the water feature? Is the water feature just aesthetics? Is it storm drain? There's been a lot of differing conversation on the waterway. This is the concept that they put together for the water feature. The water feature will not go the whole 2 blocks. But it will be on the east side of the road doesn't quite go to First North. So it goes the majority of the distance, but it is on the east side. So if you have any residents or business owners talk to you about this, we've tried to get this information out and to discuss it with them, but it is anticipated to be on the east side of the street. So some of the amenities are down there. I mean, one is just wayfinding. I know we look at our downtown, it's a very small downtown and it doesn't seem like it'd be really difficult to get lost or find your way. But when it comes to parking, that's what as we've talked to a lot of the property owners or business owners, just identifying where public parking places are is really important. It's really important to those businesses. A lot of those businesses, they're willing to continue to have conversations with the cities about maybe some shared parking. Those are still yet to be finalized, but they're willing to have those discussions. But they also want to make sure that if they have private parking lots, they want to make sure that those parking areas are available at their busiest times for their customers, while still being a good community member, and working with the city to make downtown successful. But anyway, so signage is going to be really important downtown. We're incorporating a lot of amenities. And this is where we want to incorporate the new city brand. We can't, there's not going to be a lot of opportunities down there, but on your amenities, on your park benches, on your bike racks, on the banners that will go on the decorative light posts, that's where we can put in the Home to Adventure. That's where we can put our new logo. So we're pretty excited about incorporating in very strategic locations that brand. So they're not overwhelmed, but they identify that this is Payson. I mean, that this is our brand. Because that's been, a big effort of the city council over the last couple of years. And then again, on the bottom right is the color scheme for the pavers and for the concrete. So a couple of project updates. So since we've last discussed with you, like I said, there's been a lot of work done on the consultant side, whether it's through the architectural renderings, whether it is the engineering and designing stormwater basins and everything that comes with that, those utilities and infrastructure. But there's also been a lot of meetings with property owners and business owners to talk about parking. How do we address parking? Is there any opportunities for shared parking? We've been talking to them about some of those that have awnings. So here on the right-hand side, we have 6 buildings that have awnings that we're not necessarily concerned with the projection of an awning. It's the post of the awning, the supports of the awnings that are in the right of way that may not align with or that would need to be protected through the construction process, or they may not align with the new cross section of having an 8-foot wide pedestrian way. And the last thing we want is for a pedestrian or someone cycle or on their scooter going down and running into a post. So we've been trying to take all those things in consideration. So we've been talking to those property owners to say, is there an opportunity to remove those awnings? You know, could we remove them? Could we look at a different style of awning that is not affixed to the ground? So we've been reaching out to them to have those conversations and see what their willingness is, or see how, you know, we can assist them in making those changes. And then also landscape improvements. You know, we're looking at, you know, any area where there's any walkways or drives, you know, they're just south of the Getaway Furniture, that little alley that's there. The consultant team has put together some ideas of how that could be landscaped and become more of a pedestrian way. So we've talked to the landowners about that area there to see if that's a possibility to incorporate that into the design. And so that's a continued discussion of whether or not that will happen, but we're really trying to create a lot of energy downtown of, yes, there might be some impacts and there might be some inconveniences when this occurs, but the end product is, you know, we're trying to really promote it from that standpoint. The mayor has looked into CDBG funding to see if there's any way that we can get some funding through MAG in order to maybe do a grant program for facade renovations, whether that would be the front facade or the rear facade. We haven't defined all that yet. We haven't really determined, you know, what the architecture would need to be, but we're still trying to find solutions for some of the challenges that these business owners and property owners are bringing up. We're looking at incorporating electric vehicle charging stations. It's our understanding that there's some grants available that we could tap into in order to do EV charging stations. So we're considering that. There's been a lot of work that's been done on the power layout and improvements. For those of you that spend much time behind those buildings, we have power everywhere. We have overhead power. We have under, you know, it's just been a challenge over the year with the power. And now we're looking at this as an opportunity to take to have that overhead go underground and to really strategically place where those switches and transformers and other electrical facilities are located. So all the existing has been mapped, and they've also put together a proposed layout for the consultant team to consider as far as where those new connections would be located. And then we continue to work with the consultants on the design and the engineering. As I said, it is a daily process, and we meet with them every week to see their progress, anticipating that we'll see this project move forward next year. And then updated cost estimates have been completed with input from not only the project engineers, but with the contractor through the CMGC. And so the costs have increased significantly. I think we will talk a little bit about that tonight. So that goes back to phasing or identifying additional funding, maybe through a few different ways in order to make this project viable or financially viable and for us to move forward. But yes, inflation, costs, labor, everything keeps changing those numbers, and we're trying to refine it as much as we can for the city council to feel comfortable, but we probably do need to talk about those costs. Hogan. So they're CMGC that were. So yes. Yes, we do.
We've hired them to finish the design work under the GMGC. If the costs are good, we can stick with them and go it down. If it's too high or we don't like their cost, we can go out there.
It's a pretty big project. And everyone's busy right now, but anyway. So we can go back to these and I anticipate that we will. I have one last slide. So just upcoming, because there's a lot of those projects I had in the beginning that I didn't include in the spotlight. So in November, you will be seeing proposed amendments to the general plan related to the moderate income housing in order for us to finalize our report with the state. Spring Creek specific plan. So that is the one out west. Robert is anticipating to give the city council an update on that project. Haven't identified exactly when we'll move forward with the approval process, but he's put a lot of time and effort into working with the working group, property owners, and I think he would appreciate some dialogue and some direction from the city council to refine that before we get it approved. And I know that Robert is participating on the call. I know he was. So if you have any questions for him on that, but he is planning on coming back to you in November, I believe at your next meeting in order to give you the specifics on that. So that will be a valuable discussion. And then corridor preservation, you may recall that we're working on, securing some property for the 8 South corridor. One of those will actually be completed in November, probably maybe even the end of October, how we're going, but we're getting really close to one of those corridor preservation. And then in December, you'll see some annexation policy plan amendments. We will also have the BYU student team that will be presenting on a gateway transition zone for North Main. One of the things that we're seeing on North Main Street is especially with the new interchange, is we're going to have a lot of activity and a lot of things happen around the new interchange. Well, what happens with the existing one? What happens with those businesses? What happens with those properties? What happens with North Main Street leading to historic downtown, that destination? How are we going to transition? How can we make sure that that's still, or how we can enhance that entrance into our community? I think there'll still be a lot of traffic along that corridor, but what do we want that corridor to look like? And so the BYU students are helping us with that. And then the TAG grant, which is a new grant opportunity through Mountain Land Association of Governments. It's for technical assistance for governments. So it is a new program that they are implementing, and we have applied for 2 projects with that. I just received word this afternoon that they've determined both of those are eligible to apply. They have a pre-application process that they have to determine if you're eligible to then apply. And so we just found that out this afternoon that both of ours, one is an active transportation plan for the city. Again, going back to getting to front runner. How do you get bike lanes, people, pedestrians? How do you get them there without a vehicle? So an active transportation plan. And the second one is to help with that corridor between the North Interchange and downtown. And then there's also some Utah Office of Tourism grants that are due in December that we're looking at applying for some projects along the scenic byway. So that's coming up November and December, little snippet. But you tell me where you want to go as far as the presentation. And yes. Oh, okay, I can do this. So let's talk about this. I'll pull up so we can share the rendering, but yes, let's start a conversation.
Our plan is to try to get that bid this winter so we can start the spring. We got some updated cost numbers this week. They're not good. There's a little bit of a discrepancy between our architect engineers numbers and those numbers. They're quite a bit higher, but even CRS's numbers are higher than that. We budgeted 8.3 million, I think. Hogan, like 17. But the architect and CRS engineers probably at 12. And so that's why we wanted to give you the update. They're refining their numbers. We're trying to see what we can do and how they can get closer together. And that's what the CMGC process is. This is the first go around with numbers, and then you work together to try to you can do to make the project happen. But and that's the process we're working through, but it was a little shock to all of us when the numbers came out. Yeah. Probably not. Yep, the other thing they're doing is probably on Monday, they're probably gonna do a little trench somewhere on Main Street so they can see actually what's under there, you know, because they got concrete. I think everybody's being really cautious on that 2 block downtown because you don't want to hurt the buildings. You saw cut the concrete to get it out instead of yank it out. So there's some caution there, and that's why the cost, I think, right now, but we're working through it. So, and anytime you guys want to get more involved, we have those meetings every Wednesday. You can get online and listen. But we'll try to keep giving you some updates.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's some things that we can do as a city that Hogan said that's a big deal. That could bring some of their costs down. Yes. Good idea. Yeah.
Any other questions on Main Street? I know it's a big project. I know we're excited. We want to know if we're still on schedule, but
I know some of you know, were concerned about around the weed blue and things like that. There's been some people contact you. We met with Scott Phillips, the owner, and he was pretty open to what we were trying to do. We met with ERA Realtors that owns that most of that roadway
yeah,
through.
so the, oh, yes.
Yeah. And they've been positive. So I think we're making some progress with the owners. It takes some time to meet with them, and the awnings are, that's a big deal. If we can get awnings where they don't go down into the ground, it'd be great. We are reaching out to see if we can get the State Historical Society to come down, maybe their engineer or whatever, and look and see how we can do it, keep the historical feel, but still put some things on there. We are having the Film Commission come down Monday, give their thoughts and input, so we can keep that as a filming venue. So we're trying to hit a lot of angles, but it's a big project, and it could go south quickly.
Yeah. And that's what's been so, great about talking with the property owners too, is, we see it just, from the surface of drive, but when you start talking to them, they are, like with those display windows, it's like, well, that awning provides shade, and in the case of a furniture store, if you have furniture there and you don't have that shade, then that's potential damage, so, like, okay, maybe there is another option for an awning that can still shade that area. But get the current awning out of the right of way. So, it's been good to talk with them. And I think a lot of the property owners have really been receptive to seeing this project move forward, but they also have questions and concerns, and they want to make sure those are addressed. And so that's why these conversations need to continue, and we need to finalize some things before the project starts. But there are going to be portions of the project that start, even before all that's finalized. As the mayor mentioned, maybe you start at this location first and maybe, this is the tail end of the project, or, so there's a lot of things that can be done to still keep the project moving forward while still allowing the time necessary for this to be a collaboration. So. Yeah, exactly. Anything else on Main Street or Dave, was there anything that we missed that maybe you need direction from the
I don't think
city
so.
council
Make
or?
you aware.
Okay. Okay. But the only other thing I was going to show, because drum roll. Well, do a longer drum roll because I'm not that fast at switching. See, so there you go. Oh, okay, okay. So it sounds like I know that staff met with the architectural team for MTech probably about 2 months ago, and they were gathering a lot of information. So it looks like that this is probably a lot of the work that they've done since that time. But, so this is. Yep. So to orient everyone, 1130 South is down here. This is the new 850 South Road that they're roughing in, and it'll come down, connect with 1950. Doing some of the utility work, and so, but anyway, so this is the campus that's here. Building A. So let me go through the next slides because there's more pages. Oh, did it say? Did it? Student services, admin, and building support. Yep. So there's going to be some great opportunities for our residents. So that's fantastic. Okay. So then here is an architectural rendering of the building. Oh, and then the last one here is just from a different angle. So anyway, that's pretty exciting. So thanks for sharing that, Brian. Okay. If you don't have any other questions for me, we will just proceed and provide more frequent updates.
Like having an engineer, I was gonna ask questions of you, Travis, but I would tell. I'm gonna head down to the park so I can turn the lights on to see.
Yes. Yes.
He said it's too dark and he was gonna head back and I said, well, let me turn the lights on. So I'm gonna go turn it on. So come on down.